We rarely feature kids' books on this podcast, but we're making an exception for Beyond Pretty by B.C. Hatch. The former model recently stopped by our studios to tell me about her alphabet book that encourages readers to view girls as more than a pretty face. So I love the premise of your book. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I wrote the book because I feel like little girls always get told, "You're so pretty," or "That dress is so cute," or "You have such cute little curls," or "Look at her eyes." And things that tend to center for girls around image and their physical attributes. And a lot of times because of that, we forget to tell them things like, "You're strong," and "You're smart," and "You're brave," or "You're courageous." And when you forget that and you only focus on one thing, they're not hearing that. So they start to only see their importance as physical beauty, and they then don't feel like their other things are as important to us, and therefore they don't focus on them.
Where did the inspiration to put this into a book for kids come from?
Someone had given my daughter a onesie that said "pretty" in bright pink sparkly letters. And I sort of groaned when I saw it, and I was like, ooh. And I had some fabric paint, and I added strong. And then I was like, and it just sort of clicked in my head, and I was like, pretty strong, pretty smart, pretty. And it kind of came from there.
And it's interesting, too, because of your background, your career in modeling. Is it something you like felt uniquely because of all that?
I think that probably contributed to it. I don't think it was solely because of that. However, I noticed, especially in the industry, that a lot of times people don't think that you can also be smart and pretty, and people would be like shocked if you said a halfway smart thing. And if you're telling little girls that there's societal feeling exists, that you can't be both those things, and you're constantly telling them they're pretty, then they're going to feel like, well, if I'm pretty, then I'm obviously not smart, because pretty and smart doesn't exist together. So it felt important to highlight that you can be that and also everything else.
So in the book it's an alphabet book.
Yes.
And there's a word that goes with every letter, and it's pretty ambitious, pretty brave. How long did it take you to come up with that list?
It took a few weeks, I think, overall. Initially, what we had done was we had started doing more than one word for each letter. And then the flow of the book it was getting too wordy for small children. And as soon as we decided to pick one word for each, it came together a lot faster. I did have to utilize the internet to come up with some of them and sort of go through to not just repeat the same meaning in different words and not just say one thing all the way through, which is why we have some larger words in there, like gregarious or magnanimous. And then I actually learned the word xenial from finding a word for X, which was very, very hard to find a positive word that began with X.
And I guess we're not really giving anything away, but Z proved a little bit of a problem too, right?
Yes, it did. That was a tough one.
So who do you envision is the audience for this book? Is it just girls, or is it everyone?
I think it's for everyone, because I think little boys should also know that, girls are more than pretty, and that, they should see these things in them and not be like, oh, well, you can't be brave because you're a girl, or you can't be this because you're a girl. And it's important for all little kids to see all the different attributes and to take the time to recognize those and see that in their peers and complement that in their peers.
And we're living in a day and age where this kind of messaging is really like coming to a head, coming to a forefront. And you always have people who are critics who say, oh, come on, really? Do we really have to be doing this? Where's the book for boys?
Yeah.
What do you say to people who may feel that way?
When they say, where's the book for boys? The thing is, within children's literature, there is a great lack of positive female role models. There have been a lot of books in the past few years to help fill that void, but the percentage is so minimal that the reason there isn't these books for boys is because there already are. We don't need to write them because there are tons of superheroes and tons of positive little boy characters that embody all these things, when little girls have the books where they're the princess or the mom for the female character. And we don't need to reiterate that over and over again to them because they have that. So it's adding to this for girls because to kind of level that field and fill that void that exists.
I want to talk a little bit too about the illustrations that accompany it. They're very cool. They're very different. How did that side of the book come up?
Victor, who I spoke with, had been an old roommate of mine out in LA. And when I had the idea, I'd known that he had majored in illustration. And I called him and we sort of discussed it. And we wanted to go with very classical illustration style because we wanted it to feel more timeless. And then we wanted to make sure that we were all inclusive. So we didn't want it just to be one type of thing. And he also wanted to make sure that he steered clear of doing sort of like Disney character, fine featured little girls. He wanted it to encompass that all little girls are pretty inside and out and that they all look different ways and that's an amazing thing too. And he also hid some little things in there for the parents, like for O, where she's organized, there's a little box in the top that's titled Not Fun. And just little quirky hidden images that you can find and laugh at.
I'm going to have to go back and look because I totally missed those my first read through. Is there anything else you want to say about the book?
I would just say, take it to heart and read it to your little girls. And I like that it does have some larger vocabulary, which I think extends it some into early readers as well as just being an ABC book. And that it gives those definitions and helps them learn new words and new ideas about it. So it doesn't just have to be for little kids that are just learning their ABCs. It extends a bit beyond that, and it can be utilized as a teaching tool and a learning tool and something to sort of help us all see this side of little girls.
And now that you've done this, are there plans for any other books?
There are. I'm actually working on one. I've written the rough draft. I've just spoken to a friend this morning, actually, about illustrating it. It's called a dot named girl, and it'll be very interesting.
So I'm sensing like a little bit of a theme in what you want to write about and get out there.
Yeah, for right now, I think I'm going to try to focus in the vein, and maybe that comes from having a daughter, of girl power sort of books that to help fill that void in the market.
I know I can get behind that. B.C. Hatch, the book is Beyond Pretty. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
That's our show. We hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed putting it all together. We've got a few things cooking for next week, including a sneak peek of this year's Thriller Fest. To find out more, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at WCBS 880books. And if you want to say hi, email me at lisat@WCBS880.com. That's LISAT@WCBS880.com.